for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida TV. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Tuesday, October 15. Hope everyone is doing well, and you're watching us right now on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you for doing so. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do so. It's absolutely free, and I think tonight we have a dandy for you. It's not every night that I bring on two people at the same time to join me to have a panel of three, but tonight is one of those nights. So without further ado, from Sportsnet, sportsnet.ca, Eric Engels, and from Global TV Montreal, Brian Wilde. Gentlemen, how are you?
I'm great.
I am well.
Geez, the last time, this is not the first time that Brian and Eric have done TV together or podcast together. This is a podcast, it's not TV. But Brian, for you, I think this goes way back to Habs.
Eric will tell you.
Yeah?
He'll know the date.
Well,
Eric?
it probably goes back to it's either 2008 or 2009. I'm not good with years. Like if you ask my father, what happened in year, he'd tell you, oh yeah, in 1967. But it's either 2008 or 2009. We had this thing, the Habs Hub with CTB Montreal, and Brian helped launch my career.
It wasn't called the Habs Hub, was it?
The Habs this week.
Habs this week.
Oh no, but we had a thing called the Habs Hub, which was on the CTV website, and as a part of that deal.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Brian went to bat for putting me and Arpin Basu on air with him for segments.
That worked out.
And was it even called the Habs this week? I don't even know. But Brian was.
Well, that was the 6:30 to 7 show from the bar. Remember, we were always at the bar.
Brian was the star of the show, and he was kind enough to share his platform with me and Arpin, and so he's a big influence in where we find ourselves today.
That's a show that. Hold on a second. My buddy Mitch Melnick used to have before you, was it not? Now, did Ron?
Yes, and then he quit, and I took over.
Did Ron Rouge have that show before Mitch Melnick, or did Ron Rouge have another show?
Ron never did that show.
I
did the Habs this week, and before that, I did Hockey World.
I think he did Habs 360 or something like that. Was that what it was called? But Ron did something. Because I remember being on Ron's show quite often. Yeah.
Ron did a lot of things.
All right.
Ron did everything.
So for Brian Wilde to give then young Eric Engels and young Arpin Basu an opportunity, and fast forward 15 or so years later, Brian, I think it's safe to say that you, my friend, have a good eye.
Yes, I think so. Absolutely. Yeah. That worked great. Eric obviously is, got a great career going, and Arpin both wildly successful. And now you're helping me keep my career going, Tony. So I thank you for that. Eric, he and I just go for wings at next door pub every once in a while.
They are both excellent reads, and I don't just say that because Eric's here, but I read Eric's pieces on Sportsnet, and I watch his work, and I read Arpin's pieces on The Athletic, of which I'm a subscriber. So they both deliver quality content. There's no doubt about it. All right, okay. Let's talk about the Canadiens, because there was a little bit of quality last night, but there was a lot of moments in the game where there wasn't quality, and it led to scoring chances, which led to goals for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So the Canadiens await the Los Angeles Kings on Thursday night. They're going to host them. They have a record of 2-2 after 4 games. Once again, last night was a game that went, had its ups and downs. They're down 2-0. They're up 3-2. They end up losing by a score of 6-3. One of the things that we talked about with Grant McCagg last night, and we talked about so many things last night, but one of the things was the Dach line. And there's some who say, don't touch the Dach line. 4 games. It's still early. Let's give them a chance. Let's not forget Dach was out all of last year with an injury, got hurt in period number 4. It's going to take some time. And I totally understand that. There's others who say, you know what, for a team that wants to be in the mix, there's no time waiting for something that may not work. Let's make a move right now. And let's bring someone down and let's promote somebody and let's switch up the lines. Everyone has an opinion on what to do with that line. Eric, I'd like to hear yours.
Leave it alone. Let it develop. I think, it's very easy to look at the results. I think it's very easy to admit that they haven't had sustained offensive zone pressure, which is what a line like that is structured to do, right? You look at Armia, who the guys in the Canadiens room call the house. He's really good at protecting pucks. He's really good at extending play in the offensive zone. Dach can certainly drive it, though it's obviously going to take him time to get up to speed and timing for that. And Newhook, I thought, of the 3, has had off to a very good start in terms of the way he looks on the ice and what he's able to do and what he's able to generate with his speed, what he's supposed to bring to that line. I know we have a tendency of being impatient with things, and there's only patience, of course, should have its limits when you need a line to perform and make difference from a secondary scoring perspective. But those guys feel like it's starting to come, and I would wait a game or two, especially given the way the Anderson-Evans-Gallagher combination looks and the way Heineman, Kapanen, and Dvorak looked as a line, not just last night, but basically since they were put together. So I think you see the first line starting to come. I think now that the pressure is on the second line to start to come, it's, you know how this town is. It's not like those guys are going to ignore this talk. They know what's going on. It might even help them kick it into gear. So I still think there's time to wait on this one.
I'm going to go to Brian in just a second, but not before I talk to you about Bittt Tibi, who launched their Ultra Lager refreshing thirst-quenching beer. That's what it looks like. You see it right now on the screen. Perfect for cool days, only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. Brian, I'll ask you the same question. What would you do with the line of Dach, Newhook, and Armia?
Well, you have to keep it the same because there's really no alternatives that improve the club. There's no magic potion. There's nobody down in the minors that changes anything. There'd be no changes you could make that would impact that line. The problem, of course, is that for me, I always looked at this season. The second line was the linchpin for the entire year. Last season, they were the second worst second line in goal total in the entire league, behind only San Jose, and that needed to improve. It hasn't so far. They've only got 1 goal from Newhook in 4 games. 35 was the total last year. They need to get 70 this year. That would be a good second line, and they're not even close. But changing it doesn't change it. What needs to happen is everybody needs to be patient for Kirby Dach to start to feel comfortable playing hockey again. Major reconstructive knee surgery. It's a big, big thing. And Kirby needs everybody to be patient, to allow him to feel physically fine, stronger as the muscles build and the tendons build. And then mentally too, he's got to get comfortable as well in his own head that he can make a difficult play, try a difficult turn, go into a scary corner, because emotionally it's got to be in his own head too as he starts to get back to playing hockey. So none of that changes just because you change a line. So Dach is the linchpin. He needs a little bit of time. When he starts being the play driver, the transitional guy that we've seen that he's been, you know, he was fantastic before he got injured. Martin St. Louis had a higher ceiling for him than any other player. He flat out said that. So everybody needs to be patient.
My opinion will be brought to you tonight by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They are driven to be different. They are a top fleet employer. Just ask Forbes. They're an amazing transport employer to actually work for, one of the best in the country. They prove it and show it every year. Now listen to this. You guys are going to be shocked to hear this, but I will respectfully disagree with both of you. Like as if it's the first time in my life I disagree. But you know what? It works so well because it probably would have been a shitty podcast if we all would have all agreed. Grant.
Are you disagreeing just to disagree, though?
No.
Okay.
Grant, but I do that a lot too, by the way. Grant brought up something a couple of weeks ago, and he said, this is going to be a big year for Dach for several reasons, but one of the things he's going to have to turn around is going to be his face-off percentage. For that line to have success, you're obviously going to have to possess the puck. Eric, you said, let's wait. It's 4 games. Brian, you said, let's wait. It's 4 games. You have nothing that makes them better, and he's coming off a knee surgery. Everything you guys said, I understand, and I can buy. Kirby Dach has been in the National Hockey League for 6 years. The Blackhawks weren't quite certain whether or not he was going to be an effective centerman or he probably was going to end up being a winger. Out of those 6 years, let's just say he's probably been hurt for about 2 of them. I think there's enough information and enough data to show that Kirby Dach's face-off numbers, guys, are concerning. You'll correct me if I'm wrong. So when Grant brought that up, and yeah, everyone's got an opinion. Like, for example, I think Heineman's been doing great. And I would even probably bring up Heineman and probably bring down Armia to give you an example, right? But I still don't think it changes anything if you don't have the puck more often than not. Kirby Dach's face-off numbers this year, very early on in the season, are 18.8%. So once I got off the podcast with Grant last night, I did this. Let me see if I can show it to you. All right. Hold on a second, because I have 8,000 papers here that this is what I do at night. Instead of going to bed, I end up doing charts. And so I did this, which, by the way, here we go. You see it? We'll bring it up right now because I sent it over to Shane, and this is what it looks like, okay? So Dvorak's been in the league for 9 years. Newhook's been in the league for 5 years. Dach's been in the league for 6 years. And once again, I put an asterisk next to Dach because we know that he's been, depleted with injuries. Take a look at the numbers, guys. Dvorak's numbers are better than Newhook's numbers, whose numbers are better than Dach's numbers every single season that they've been in the National Hockey League. Dvorak averages 52.6% face-off wins, Newhook 41.3%, Dach 35.1%. So Grant said, why don't you bring up Dvorak on the line? Whether you want to play him at center or not, that's maybe another discussion and it's another debate. But let him take the draws, so at least they're going to get possession more often than not. Guys, I'm buying what Grant's selling. Eric?
I'm not. Mostly because Christian Dvorak, as you have written and read there, is at 44.4% so far this season. Alex Newhook last year, 46.5%, up from 41.4%, where he started the season, was around 35%. Dach, anyways, I think we're putting too much stock into faceoffs, and I don't think it's the reason this line is not producing. It helps. I'm not going to deny that it helps. But I have another stat for you. The Canadiens scored 1 goal in their first game. They scored 4 goals in their second game, 4 goals in their third game, and 3 goals in their fourth game. Probably should have had a couple more. I don't think scoring was really the issue here, so you have time to let this work out. I get the theory. I understand it. It's just, are you suggesting a face-off get-off for Dvorak and then just throw Dach on the ice? Is that the idea?
No, listen, would the line be much worse if you take Armia off it and replace him by Dvorak? I don't think so. I mean, but if we don't try, we don't know.
And then you put Kappen in the middle with.
Yeah. I think you could do that. Yeah. So I know that. Look, we'll get to the defense in a minute because there's no doubt that you're right about that. They can improve their defense, but like the proof is in the pudding here. The stats don't lie. Like Dvorak is a much better face-off guy than the other two. He has been every season. You talked about his numbers not being great so far this season. They're still better than the 2 other guys. Dach is 18.8. Now, you said, well, I don't put much stock into the faceoffs, and I get the comment, but if you don't have the puck and 40 seconds later you're on the bench, like, you don't have the puck.
I think where I would land on this is I think we have enough sample size to suggest Dach is never going to be a good face-off guy. That's enough sample size.
Okay. We can get rid of the
He's
chart
never
now.
gotten better than 40, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if the guy's never gotten better than 40%, we can see that he's not good at that one aspect of being a center. But at all of the other aspects, as Martin St. Louis, again, I refer to him, and you can believe him much more than me. He thinks he's the quintessential centerman, and he loves his upside and thinks he has the best ceiling of all of them, including Suzuki, at the center position. So all you're looking to do here is find a way to improve his faceoffs or mitigate the difficulty that he has with faceoffs. So we saw when he was with Suzuki and Caulfield and played the wing there, he carried the puck up the ice as if he was a centerman. He was a transitional player on that line a lot. And they were actually a very strong line in terms of their goal share when he was on the wing, but acting like a centerman. So if we were going to create an entire team and lines and setup that revolves around that 1 second that you're trying to turn 4 out of 10 into 5 out of 10, 1 out of 10 isn't a lot. And especially if you're a smart coach and you say, well, defend face off, now I got to make sure I have a good guy there. And offensive and neutral face-off, I can get away with that 1 out of 10 that Dach's not that good at.
But before I get to Eric, I have a question for you, Brian. And look, everyone loves the package of Kirby Dach at 6'4" and 225, and he's everything that you would want in a centerman in that respect because he has the size for the job that you'd like to see. A big body up the middle of the ice. He can insulate Suzuki. Everyone understands that. You go back 5 or 6 seasons, how many second-line centermen do you know in the National Hockey League? Good ones. Who average 35% in the dot. And if you know them, if you can just rattle them off right now so I can hear them.
Well, long-term, Tony, the answer is 0 that anybody is a centerman at 35%. First line, second line, third line, or fourth line.
So
you know, 35 is an outlier. That's
Eric,
nobody's as bad as that. Nobody.
Eric, are we sure he's a centerman, Eric? Or like, so as Brian
all we're sure of is he's lousy at face-offs.
Okay.
That's it.
Like Brian said, obviously the powers that be in the organization are very high on him, and Lord knows they have a lot more qualifications for the job than Tony Marinaro would. But are we sure that he's a centerman, or he's not right now by default because of his size?
I'm sure he's a centerman, and I'm much less concerned about his face-off percentage than I am just the fourth gear kind of missing from what we saw over the last year. Also, on the face-off front, if you look at the best face-off players in the world, take guys who take at least 300 face-offs a season. There's very few of them that are in their first, second, third season in the league. As you mentioned, Dach missed 2 years. As far as the idea that Brian advanced that he'll never be a good face-off man, he may never be a guy who is consistently over 50%, but I think he could work his way towards 48, 49. I would have said, I think there was a lot of people that would have said that when Max Domi was with Montreal Canadiens, they would have seen a guy who would never be good in the face-off dot, and last year he was top 10 in the league. It's just experience, and it's just a willingness to, not even a willingness, but the experience to learn how to cheat. Because the guys who win the most faceoffs get away with the most cheating. That's the way these things work. And there is a certain amount of leeway, which I've spoken to him about with many, many players around the National Hockey League, that is extended to players who have been in the league for a good amount of time. They get a lot more benefit of the doubt. But I'm not concerned about Dach in the faceoff circle because the only place for him to go is up. I am concerned that with the injury that he had, that missing step, and I'm not going to say it's never coming back because I think it will, but I look at Connor Brown. Brian's a huge Edmonton fan. And if you watch Connor Brown last year, a lot of people were saying, like, coming off ACL injury, that they would have killed for Ken Holland to trade this guy in the middle of the season. And then the playoffs started, and it took that long for him to get that gear back. And the Canadiens don't have that long because, obviously, if they want to be in the mix and they want to make the playoffs, Dach is going to have to find that gear a bit faster. But it is going to take him time. I'll say this, and I don't know what you guys think of it. I've watched him since the beginning of camp, every practice to every game, and I'm seeing gradual improvement. But you just can't expect exponential improvement like so fast. He didn't just tear his ACL, he tore his MCL. He had reconstructive surgery and had an 8-month layaway away from the game at such a critical age. I'm a big believer in Kirby Dach. I'm a big believer in this player. He will get it back. He will respond to what's going to be mounting criticism if he doesn't start hitting the point sheet. He's that type of guy. He's got a bit of an FU attitude, and I think you're going to see it pretty quickly.
Well,
I'm going to take the other side of that.
Yeah, I was just going to say he can go out and get a suit like Arbor if he's got the FU attitude.
That's right. Good joke. I'm going to take the other side only insofar as I don't know if we can predict the future for the knee. That's the only thing, Eric. I just don't know if anybody can say. Connor Brown is a good example, and we've seen a lot of players that have gone through major reconstructive surgery like he has, take a very long time to get better. High ankle sprain is the same thing. I remember way back when Teemu Selanne, everybody decided his career was over after a high ankle sprain. Josh Anderson got the same issue and everybody decided he's absolutely done. Sometimes you lose an entire season getting it back. And all I'm going to keep saying over and over this year is I hope fans are patient, because this could take a while. And there's still no guarantee he can find that fourth gear again. This was a major event in his life. And it's going to take some time. And if it does, people are going to have to take it with him. And it's going to be hard because you're going to ask for more. You're going to wish he was the old guy. But that's just not the way the human body works. And the mind doesn't work like that either. So, there are days I still think Josh Anderson doesn't feel right in his own head. Like he used to go to the net charging like he got that injury all the time. And now he's more of a perimeter player than he was back in the day when, he was an absolute force. I remember when he came into town one night and he got a hat trick for Columbus and he was just unstoppable. And you don't see that anymore. I mean, It takes time, guys. So I hope everyone, all the fans listening here will give Kirby Dach the leash that he needs because it's going to take a little time.
Lord knows that Eric and I have had our share of animated conversations when it comes to Josh Anderson. But I didn't like his preseason, but I will say this. I really don't have a problem with Anderson thus far. And I think if people in the 4 games, if people come to the realization that Josh Anderson is likely not going to score the 27 goals that he scored with the Columbus Blue Jackets 5 years ago, and that he's going to play a role on this team, and you lower the expectations, you're probably going to feel a lot better about him than if you put those expectations high and you're expected to see those 27 goals again. By no means do I think he's finished, but I have a hard time seeing him get back to that level. But right now, I kind of like that line with Evans and Gallagher, and I think they're right. I think they're working, and I think they're bringing it. And then they're not the reason why they're losing. And so I think they found a home for him for now.
Hopefully those guys start
finishing. 50 share.
Hopefully those guys start finishing some chances because they're generating them. And he looks great on the penalty kill specifically. Like, that is a role that I think he was born to play. He's got the tenacity. Jake Evans was talking. I was talking with him yesterday just about how disruptive he is to the other team's breakout and how annoying he is to play against. That was the word he used for his line. He said, we're annoying. We're very annoying to play against. And I think, and I'm sure we're going to get into the foibles of the Canadiens from last night against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think of this. I think their second period last night was the best period of their season. And I think at the root of it was a style of game that those 3 guys play specifically. Simple, deep, hard forechecking, good hockey. And the Canadiens have skill to stray from that. But when they do, it doesn't seem to go very well. So I think they've got a template there with those 3 guys that most of the other lines should be following right now.
Yeah, Eric, as you know, I went to the game on Saturday night with my buddy Iggy Magri, who I introduced you to, and we're sitting in the Reds. And at one point, he looked over at me and he says, I really like the decision to put Josh Anderson on the penalty kill. And I said, yeah. And we're talking. He said, one of the things that's not often talked about is that St. Louis has taken a player who had a disappointing season last year, probably upset and probably not very happy that he's not on the power play, but now given him an added sense of responsibility by putting him on the penalty kill. And he says, you can almost tell that the guy feels better about himself just by doing that. And I said, Iggy, you got to stop talking like that, because if Agnello hears you, he's going to fire me and hire you because you make a lot more sense than me. But it was a good comment, though. It was interesting.
It feels important. It matters.
He gave him a sense of importance, is what he said. All right, okay. That sense of importance, by the way, is brought to you by Playground. If you're looking for the ultimate entertainment experience, Playground has it all: gaming, poker, fine dining, live music, DJs, all with unmatched customer service. Why go anywhere else? Just minutes from downtown Montreal, across the Mercier Bridge. Playground, your top destination for fun. All right, okay. So I'll go with putting Dvorak on the line with Dach instead of Armia, having Kapanen in center of the fourth line. I buy what Grant is selling. You both are going with patience for now, and give them a couple of games more, and let's see what happens. Only time will tell. So let's see what happens. Here's hoping for a great performance from Kirby Dach and his line on Thursday night versus the Los Angeles Kings. Now, the defense. Eric said they scored 1 goal, they scored 4 goals, they scored 4 goals, they scored 3 goals. They have a record in 2-2. Should we be talking about the offense? If there's an area they need to improve, it's the defense. You're right. So, how concerned are you, Brian? I'll start with you on this one. That they preached offensive concepts. They've obviously implemented them. I'm sure they've implemented some defense along the way, but their play without the puck does not seem to be getting better as far as the team is concerned. And if you agree with that, tell me what you think and how concerned are you or aren't you?
I'm very concerned. Let's bring in analytics for a second here. They basically have Caden Guhly over a 50 share this season. All of their lines are 30, 35 share. All of the defensemen, 30, 35 share, except for Guhly. There's only one partnership on the entire team. It's Guhly and Hudson are over a 50 share. That means too much of the hockey game is being played in their own zone. They're giving up more than their share of chances all the time. You take away the second period last night against Pittsburgh, the third period against Ottawa, the first period against Toronto. The other 9, they've been classically outplayed. There's been too much hockey in their own zone. And it is a concern. And I think they can alleviate it to some point by having Dach improve, as we discussed. But I think the first line has been very concerning. Last year, they had a 60 share and were top 10 for the first 3 months they were together. They got 53 goals in the second half of the season for 106, which is top 5 prorated in the entire league. And that's fallen off too. So, how does that change? Jaden Struble is the only guy you can realistically bring in for manpower to change it. So I think systematically, they've got to make some changes and start caring more about how they handle and massage situations.
Eric?
I have 2 thoughts. One is team defense, not 6 guys that are on the blue line, because I think it's going to take time for the chemistry to develop, the way the pairs are deployed, and just for guys to get into that rhythm. Like 10 games, the first 10 games of every season across the league are loose. There are just things that get tightened up as you go along. And
that's true.
The Canadiens are not an exception to that. They're also not an outlier, no matter where they rank statistically, if it looks worse. The second thing is, and this has been a gripe of mine going back, certainly the last season, they pass the puck too much in their own end. You want to talk about how much time they spend in their own end? It has a lot to do with reversing the puck and trying to maintain possession. And I know they're encouraged to make plays, but they need to punt. They need to be willing to chip the puck up the wall. When you're playing in this league,
they don't want to do that. They're going to die with their concepts. They want to be able to do a lot of quick passes out of their zone because they believe it's going to open up lanes and it's going to break down the other team.
But they don't do a lot of quick passes out of their own zone. They do a lot of reversing in their own zone. They do a lot of plays where you have an opportunity to chip the puck up the ice because the pressure is on. When you play teams like Boston, Florida, Ottawa to an extent, Toronto through the second half of that first game, Carolina, with teams that pinch down the walls nonstop and put pressure with an aggressive forecheck, the only way to beat that is to create races in the neutral zone and make the simple play coming out of your end. No more soft poo-poo, shitty plays coming out of your own end. That's a recipe for disaster. And you know something? You want to know why Caden Guhly reflects so well within those statistics that Brian was just referencing? He doesn't make soft plays in his own end. Every play is hard, and if he misses a pass, then it's icing, and it's okay. Icing just means it's another face-off. But if you want to spend less time in your own end, that's one way. The other way is...
It depends who's taking the face-off, Eric.
Yeah, that's right. The other way is you have to play a hard, deep game yourself. Play that physical, deep game that we saw in the second period, the Evans line being the template for that game. If you do that, you create circumstances by which the other team has to run around their own end trying to get the puck out, and they don't have the energy to go and play offense. And Marty St. Louis' number one concept, Tony, is making reads. And one of the major reads that the Canadiens need to start making with consistency is the pressure is on, the press is on, they're coming down the walls, the puck is on the boards, chip it out, ice it. It doesn't matter. You may disrupt the flow of the game. You may create more of a mucky type of game to play, but you're going to be fishing the puck out of your net a lot less.
All right.
I think what's happening is that...
Yeah, go ahead.
I think what's happening is Martin St. Louis wants to teach them and create for them a much higher level of conceptual play. And I think to get there sometimes that the player has to be actually quite talented to achieve that goal. And sometimes I feel like there are players that don't have the talent level to achieve some of the schemes that he would like them all to orchestrate well. And so you fall back to what Eric just said and what fans say. Like, you know, there's a common, when you watch the game at a bar, you hear the sentence, just get it out. Yeah. And I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's the concept they're not doing enough. It's just get it out.
I've never asked.
And then Eric goes farther and says, then get in a race and win that race in the neutral zone, and they could win that race and change the tenor of the game. But yeah, there's just too much hockey in their own zone. It's very simple. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, but Brian, I've never asked Marty St. Louis about this, but I get the feeling watching from the outside and listening to him talk during the press conferences that he and his staff believe that they can teach hockey IQ, they can teach reads, they can improve smarts. This is what I think. I don't know, because there are some people in hockey that believe that you're born with hockey IQ and that you can't teach it. If I were a betting man, and Eric, I'd love to hear from you. If I were a betting man, I would be willing to bet that they believe that you can teach hockey IQ, you could teach reads, and you could teach hockey smarts. And some of the ways you can teach them is by implementing drills and or exercises where you play in tight spaces, maybe so that you improve your read and react, and maybe do that. Eric, answer me. You said you know.
You could bet your mortgage on this. You do know. You're not just making an estimation here. That this is absolutely what they believe, and they have plenty of proof that it is possible, and that's why every drill they do is simulated or designed to simulate gameplay. What they believe is that you may take a player where that is a weakness for them. You're not necessarily going to turn it into a strength, but you are going to strengthen it by potentially 2 to 5% or even 10%. For a player where that is their strength, you're going to strengthen it and you're going to embolden that strength. But ultimately, you know, the game, hockey sense in general, and the way the Canadiens want to play the game is, if you have a play, make a play. If you don't have a play, make a simple play. It's not, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, but if you're looking for proof of guys that have improved within those concepts and have had their hockey IQ bolstered, Juraj Slafkovsky is probably number one on the list of guys that you would point to. Brendan Gallagher is another great example. If you can't notice the evolution in Brendan Gallagher's game, Cole Caulfield is another great example. Absolutely.
I would add Jake Evans, by the way.
But and Jake Evans too. But the things that you can do with the guys who have that as a superpower, like Nick Suzuki, is you start to see them execute in specific areas of the ice, and you start to. But the one thing that they're really trying to do is less so on an individual level and more so on the collective. Have them think 5 guys with one brain. And when Marty talks about how he likes the collective game and he likes how the connectivity of his players, there has been great progress within that. They just are young and inexperienced and have to find a way to get it going consistently.
It's
hard.
Look, I knew it was going to be an interesting conversation tonight, but this is an interesting one because it almost feels like, and Eric, I hear what you're saying. You're basically saying if you need to skip a line every now and then, you go out and skip that line. The forecheck's coming and boom, you put it up over them or you put it down the ice if you have to. I think what Marty St. Louis and his staff are trying to do is they're trying to increase that level of that area of their game where they're trying to move the puck out of the zone so that, and almost to the point where, listen, he wants to win every game, of course, but because they've been in a rebuilding phase, if it means that they might not get a result every now and then, but it's short-term pain for long-term gain, I think that's what they're going with. Now, we talked about the defense.
Tony, before you move on,
yeah,
they have emphasized to their players when it's time to punt. And I'm going to tell you right now, this team last year was 13th in, Brian likes the analytics, 13th in the NHL in D-zone passes. That's a good thing if you're Toronto that plays a pure possession game. It's not a good thing if you're Montreal that plays a hybrid style of game where they are making their reads to make the best play available, not just the one that you think might work. You've got to be willing, especially playing against Boston, Florida, Toronto, Ottawa, Carolina, the teams in the East that play this high pinching volume style of game, less so a team like the New York Rangers that really likes to, roll around, go behind. You need to make those reads that, you know what, the pressure's coming. Let's ease it. Let's start there. And then when Marty talks about get on base, that's getting on base. And that is taking the puck out of your own net a lot more.
Do they make a move on D? If so, who goes in and who comes out? Betway is a leading global online betting and gaming brand. Follow your gut instinct. Go with Betway. Go on Betway.com or scan the QR code to join the action. Must be 18 years old and play responsibly. Eric, is Jaden Struble ready to come back?
100%. He's been healthy going back to Saturday. Didn't get a real practice in. So, they had a practice Sunday. They played Monday. But he's ready to go, and I would be shocked if he wasn't playing on Thursday.
Perfect. Let's end it right there. Brian, Jaden Struble's 100% and ready to go. Is he in on Thursday without talking about who comes out just yet?
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
100%. He was the best guy at camp.
Eric, who's coming out?
I'm not sure.
Brian?
Oh, really? Arbor.
I tell you when I know things, but I don't know in this case.
It's got to be Arbor Jacky, though. I mean, when you look at the play. He's given, Martin St. Louis has given Justin Barron quite a lot of ice time. Against Ottawa, I think he had the third highest among defensemen, and he leaned on him in the third period a lot. So I don't think it's Justin Barron. Obviously, left side, you got to think it's Arbor.
I like the way both of them played at the beginning of last game. I liked Arbor throughout last night's game more than Barron on the whole. But on the whole body of work, Barron probably stays in, and there is the balance of the left-right thing that is a factor.
But the left-right thing was not a factor at the beginning of the season before Struble went down with that injury because Struble was going to get in and play right defense with Jacky, who was going to play left, and Barron was going to be out.
I don't know where
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Comes from, by the way?
How do you know that?
That's the way they were lined up right before the.
See, those tweets go out, Tony, from the Canadiens account. It's not like they come from the coach's office. And there was points where forwards were playing defense in those drills. So I was at that practice.
Okay.
I think Struble was going to play for Jacky if he was healthy.
Okay.
And can I ask a question here, too?
Yeah.
Just make a point and, I'll get your opinions on it, guys. Do you think the general manager, Kent Hughes, is trying to massage what dynamic he would get from Justin Barron as far as the rest of the league, looking at his ice time, looking at his play, looking at his status? Because as soon as you put him up in the press box, I think that status changes just a little bit if he becomes a seventh guy. Because I think ultimately they have a hard decision there with Justin Barron.
They do. I don't think they're looking at that right now. I think they're looking at which lineup right now they think gives them a better chance to win on a nightly basis. And if the last two games was an indication, with Jacky getting 13 minutes and change last night, and with Jacky getting even less minutes against the Ottawa Senators the other night, I think that if you take a look at the utilization, Jackie's being used as a number 6 right now. And if they have to make a move on Thursday, I think Jackie's the guy they're going to take out. Now, I got inundated with messages all day today from people telling me, yeah, but Jackie brings an element of toughness and physicality, and Justin Barron doesn't hit anybody and all that stuff. And look, I get a lot of what people are saying, but I think what I'm saying right now is factual. The last 2 games, based on the utilization or lack thereof, show Arbor Jackie being used as a number 6 by the Canadiens coaching staff. Does it not?
Yeah, no, you're on. And you're probably right. You're probably right. It's him coming out for Struble, and we don't have to wait too much longer to find out, right? Which is
I'm gonna take it.
By the way, Barron did throw a couple of big hits last night.
Yes, he did. He was more physical than he has been in a while. Mind you, Jackie led everyone with 5 hits. I'm gonna take it a step further. With all due respect to everyone here, if you had to say one or the other, isn't Jaden Struble a more reliable defenseman than Arbor Jackie? It's a tough question, I know.
Today he is.
I don't think it's a tough question, actually.
Well,
Struble is clearly a better hockey player.
Today he is. Tomorrow he's got to be. You know, like that's the thing with these guys at the ages they're at. And, you know, the ancillary benefit of this season is the information that the general manager needs in order to bring this team forward will be revealed. We're going to find out exactly who these guys are. They're just getting to that stage post 100 games, now the next 82, where the answers become so much clearer to them. I have always said, Tony, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, that Arbor Jackie has the potential to become a top 4 defenseman if he can find that consistency. He has the tools, he has the ability, he has the versatility, but he needs to show it.
I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be a big climb. I think that's going to be tough. I can see him being a third pairing, and playing in the National Hockey League for a decade. I can see that. A top 4 is going to be difficult. Well, and maybe he can be with another team, but seeing as who's in the pipeline here, I mean, the Canadiens have, once again, they have Adam Engstrom, and they have Logan Mailloux, and they have David Reinbacher, and they have Lane Hudson, and they have Caden Guhly. Is he going to be that guy with the Montreal Canadiens? I think that's a tough ask. Brian, before I get to your answer, I just want to talk about Secure, because you're pretty secure every time you speak. Fall is the perfect time to start a new job, unlike your potential with Secure, with a K, by the way, payment experts. Secure is the highest paying, Brian, listen to this. Secure is the highest paying English-speaking call center in the Montreal area. That's right. The job is English only, no French required, which we know is next to impossible to find here in Montreal. They're always growing the team, and 2 great locations, downtown Montreal and the West Island. Secure offers a fun and unique culture with great earning potential. Brian, do you think Arbor Jackie can be a top 4 defenseman, or a number 4, if you want to put it that way, with the Montreal Canadiens going forward over the next couple of years with the depth that is at that position within the organization?
Not a chance. Nope. I don't think it's possible. I don't think he has shown us over a consistent basis that he can handle assignments very well in his own D zone. I think he gets lost at times, and I don't think he's been able to make his brain keep up with his body enough that he's always got the right guy at the right time. And I haven't seen over, a bigger sample size than the odd game that he is able to do that, not to the level that the other guys in the organization
It's going to be a great assignment, though, for the Canadiens going forward with Jackie, like to try.
It's not over for him, right? Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not suggesting that it's over for him. There's a lot of time for him to keep learning. He's still a really young man, and I don't think any complete assessment should be made of any hockey player until they've got 5 seasons under them, especially defensemen. Mike Matheson just became a way better defenseman at 28 or 29.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't ever write off a defenseman at this age. But I'm saying, if you ask me a question, he won't be top 4 when you consider all of the talent that the team has. And I think the limitation is the limitation that I just said.
The evidence is on Brian's side right now in this argument, and I know that. And I also believe that, after 300 games is when we really know for sure.
Yep.
But this next season will be very revealing. And no matter what you feel, whether you fall on Brian's side of the argument or you think the potential is there that he can continue to improve, one thing that I know unequivocally is he can play better than he has played so far. I think he is better than this.
Guys, I think the conversation tonight was very, very high level. I hope you agree, and I hope you felt that way as well. And I think, you know what, when it's really, really high and you don't think it can go higher than that, that's usually when you're supposed to stop it, because then it's all downhill from there.
Yeah,
so
but we got to make one more point before we quit. We got to make one more point.
We didn't even talk about Lane Hudson on the power play.
No, I wanted to say we got to talk about Caden Guhly. Seriously, we got to spend 20 seconds on Caden Guhly. This guy's turned into a first pair defender right in front of our eyes this year.
I think he started there. He like pretty much there in the league, but now he.
Well, okay, he solidified it then. You know what I mean? Like this is really important. He's +6. He's way like next is +1. He hasn't been on ice for a goal against 5-on-5 this year. He's making nothing but perfect plays all the time. Like you can't become a Stanley Cup contender unless you have a legitimate first pair. And that guy is a legitimate first pair defenseman.
Perfect. So you wanted to go there. We've gone there. And I agree with everything you just said on Guhly. So Eric Engels, I'm going to ask you this. We saw Guhly with Lane Hudson yesterday after Hudson started off with Savard. And Savard was having a bad night at the office. And the coaching staff quickly recognized that. And they said, okay, we got to split these two guys up. And they put Hudson with Guhly. Will Hudson and Guhly be a thing going forward here for the Canadiens?
I clap the question. Clapping the question.
I mean, I think you're still going to see a lot of rotation, but yes. And I said to you, I think it was, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, that if you want to see Caden Guhly play the left side eventually again, you could see it with Lane Hudson to his right. We'll see. I don't know if they're throwing Hudson into that deep end just yet, but I don't think there's anything that kid can't handle. And where the progression will go will be incredible. But Brian is right. This guy, and Kirby Dach predicted he'd be the breakout player for the Canadiens this season, and he's definitely playing that role. And one other thing I've noticed, he talked about an emphasis this summer on really working on how to protect himself better, and there is so much evidence through the first 4 games of him doing that. He's just absorbing contact at an earlier stage, going to get pucks, and not allowing people to slam into the glass like you saw with Kucherov last year. He's still going to take some because Caden Guhly plays the game so hard that even if he knows he's going to get hit and it's important to him to get to the puck first, he's willing to take that hit, but he's protecting himself much better with it.
And Caden Guhly makes so many smart decisions. He is Lane Hudson's perfect partner. You look at yesterday, everybody's talking about that 5th goal against. That yes, Lane Hudson made a mistake going down deep with that. But who did not help him out the rest of the way? Slafkovsky was on the boards there, and he made a pinch that was dumb. There were still 4 guys and 180 feet left, and then Matheson didn't help either. There were like so many mistakes in there.
He didn't get any support. He
got no support. He made a mistake, but he got no support. And I make this point because the right guy for Caden Guhly is Lane Hudson. And the right guy for Lane Hudson is Caden Guhly. They could be the first pair partnership that this team needs to get themselves to 105 points in the standings instead of 85 points in the standings, when they're both ready to be stars. And Guhly is already on the way on both sides of the ice. Hudson's already on the way one side of the ice, and his tutelage on the other side of the ice, I think, is going to be fast.
It was interesting because some people will say that Lane Hudson has to choose his moments, but you can also come out with the argument to say what the moment was to carry the puck when you're actually down by a goal, and you need to create hockey, to be able to tie the game. But unfortunately, he didn't get a lot of support. I'll give the final word to you, Eric.
I had, first of all, I had no problem with Lane Hudson's decision to drive the puck deep there. He threw it out in front. He threw it out in front into 2 players that were wearing Penguins jerseys. That was the mistake on the play. Slafkovsky also had good intentions on that play. He was covering for Hudson, but he made the wrong decision and decided to pinch instead of backing off the line with the puck coming the other way with those 2 players from Pittsburgh, which turned into 3 quickly. Intentions are good. We're talking about 2 20-year-old players, and they're going to learn from that. That was an important moment, not just in that game, but in this season for both those players, because Hudson, the next time he's in that situation, is going to say, you know what, we're down a goal. There's 8 minutes left in the game. We're going to get some other chances. I put the puck in a good position here. I got to put it in the next good position. Slafkovsky's going to say, you know what, I had good intentions. I was covering Lane. I saw he was in deep. but I got to back up in that situation. So those are lessons, but you don't want them learning as many lessons as they did a year ago, the Canadiens, because that's going to lead to more losses than wins, and this team has intentions of winning more games.
Really strong opinions on two 20-year-old players coming from 3 40-year-old members of the media.
How old are you?
Pretty close. Pretty close, yeah.
Very unfortunately, 51. But,
61.
You got a baby face, man.
Yeah.
Can you grow a beard?
Do I grow a beard?
That's bad lighting.
I can shave once a week because when I started doing television, sometimes it happened that they would call me like half hour before, an hour before, and say, hey, could you do some TV? Because I was right across the street. And I would go, and I had stubble. And at one point I said, I can't do this. I can't walk around with a can of shaving cream and razor blades all the time. So I went to get some laser done on my face, but I never completed the whole procedure because I wanted to leave just the goatee, but I had to do about 10 procedures, and I probably stopped at about 4 or 5. So now, even though I did laser, I still have a little bit of a beard. It just doesn't grow as fast as it would be. But I like everything in life, I did it.
I didn't even know that existed.
I did it half-assed. Yeah.
This is remarkably not the funniest thing about you, but it's up there.
Thank you very much, guys. Once again, thanks so much for doing this. We'll talk to you soon. Eric Engels and Brian Wilde. Fantastic stuff tonight. Marinaro, a shout out for Pole Montreal. Speaking of laser, they can give you laser and they can do it really good. Dr. Manish Khanna has, well, first of all, they have laser treatments. They have cosmetic treatments. They have facial treatments. They have all of that. And they also have a game changer for hair loss. It's called TED. It's an ultrasound technology to boost blood flow to your scalp, getting those hair follicles back in action. It's all natural, no needles, no pain. 98% success rate for the ideal candidates. www.polemontreal.com. 2 locations, downtown Montreal on the West Island. For a free consult, jot down this number, 514-989-7328. So once again, it's basically your one-stop shop for anything cosmetic, including hair treatments. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Once again, I thought it was really high level tonight. I hope you thought the same. If you liked it, comment 6, share with your friends. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. For Sammy and Agnello at Master Control, thanks again for watching the Sick Podcast. I'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place, but only this time with Craig Button, TSN's hockey analyst and director of scouting. Until then, good night, everyone. Thanks for watching the Sick Podcast.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.